Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents National Park Mysteries and Disappearances, the Pacific Northwest, Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, by Steve Stockton and Bill Melder, narrated by Chris Abernathy. Introduction. Welcome back. In this volume, we'll cover the Pacific Northwest, which has many strange disappearances, unsolved mysteries, and murders, and possibly as a result of the former two, a few haunted locations. In Oregon, we'll examine a few of the more than staggering 189 men and 51 women who officially remain listed as missing since 1997 by the Oregon Office of Emergency Management after trekking into Oregon's wildest places. Oregon also has more than its share of unsolved murders and haunted locations. Asita Head Lighthouse, the Shanghai Tunnels, Lithia Park, Cathedral Park, the Elsinore Theater, and the Geyser Grand Hotel, to name but a few. Washington State has several clusters of missing persons, particularly on and around the majestic and iconic Mount Rainier. Some have even speculated that the mountain is hungry, as it is such a hot spot for strange and unsolved disappearances of people who came here to never leave. The same is true of non-alpine accidents on the mountain. For example, a cargo transport plane crashed into Mount Rainier in 1946, and the bodies of 32 Marines remain entombed. Washington is also home to serial killers and unsolved murders. Many UFO encounters have occurred here as well, most notably Kenneth Arnold's 1947 sighting, which kicked off the modern UFO phenomena. Washington State also has many reported Sasquatch encounters, such as the Ape Canyon incident. It was here on Mount St. Helens in 1924 that a small cabin housing a group of miners came under attack by a gang of wild ape men. Idaho has a fascinating and growing list of mysterious disappearances and cold cases from across the state. Strange, unsolved murders, murder-suicides, and crimes of passion abound. From a paranormal standpoint, Idaho has been named the top spot in the United States for sightings of unidentified flying objects and lays claim to more than 60 reported Bigfoot encounters. Reportedly haunted spots include the Twin Falls Courthouse, Morris Hill Cemetery, the State Hospital South Cemetery, Spirit Lake, the Jameson Hotel, and the Snake River Heritage Center, among others. Part 1. Oregon. 1. Mysterious Disappearances. Michael Bryson, Umpqua National Forest. During the early hours of Wednesday, August 5, 2020, Michael Bryson, 27, a resident of Eugene, Oregon, was last seen with friends at Hobo Campground near Dorena, Oregon, while partying with them. It had been reported that he left the rave party at the campground around 4:30 in the morning and had not made his way back since. Several months later, some of his clothes appeared in an area that could be seen from the road and was searched numerous times. Unfortunately, Michael remains missing to this day. It is likely that Michael was the victim of foul play in the case, as his friends and family are baffled by it all. What happened out there in the Oregon wilderness? Misadventure? Abduction? Or something else? On August 4th, he dropped by his parents' house in Harrisburg and told them he was riding up with a friend to Hobo Campground for a week-long birthday party. Located in the Umpqua National Forest, Hobo Camp is a small roadside campground located at the side of the road. It is described as primitive, which is okay for a few nights' stay, but not somewhere you would want to camp for an extended period of time. It is located near a creek, accessible by a footpath. As per Detective Richard Smith with the Lane County Sheriff's Office, Michael left his camping gear behind, his phone was turned off, and he hasn't accessed his bank account since he wandered off in an unknown direction. Michael stood 6 feet tall, weighed about 180 pounds, and had short brown hair and hazel eyes. The last time he was seen, he was wearing a white t-shirt, tan shorts, and white Crocs with rainbows on them, along with a corduroy baseball cap in a brown color. There were several tattoos on both of his legs, both of his arms, and his ribs, Michael's last photographs were taken in the woods at a party that included music, drugs, and 40 to 60 people. According to witnesses, Michael walked away from the campsite after he was last seen in a bus. According to Michael's mother, he got upset and walked off the bus, and nobody has seen him. A search and rescue team from the Lane County Sheriff's Office Search and Rescue was already on the scene, searching on land and on the water for any signs of the missing person. There was no call to Michael's parents until 5 p.m. on the evening of August 6th about their son's disappearance. By the time we found out, it was almost 12 hours since he had been missing. The moment I put my foot out of the car, I knew Michael was gone. People weren't looking for Michael. They were sitting around, drinking, eating, laughing. Nobody was out searching for him, so I felt in my gut something had happened, said Michael's mother, Tina. Michael's father, Parrish, weighed in. There's been a lot of conflicting stories from the beginning. One story is that he walked away from camp. The other story is that a group of individuals picked him up on the road. Over 100 volunteers showed up to search miles of wilderness in the area. There were SAR teams searching the area on foot and on horseback, and drones were also used to scan the area from the air. A search was conducted in steep terrain with overgrowth and dense woods for 19 whole days in a row. Despite that, there was no sign of Michael. According to Detective Smith, the case is a continuing and active investigation. In total, the Lane County Sheriff's Office coordinated more than 15 separate searches spanning 2 counties, and over 700 hours of paid and volunteer manpower had been logged. According to Parrish Bryson, it seems the family never received any straight answers about Michael's disappearance from any of the attending partygoers. Rather, he believes they knew more than they had publicly admitted. The stories given by some of the people at the party are inconsistent, and most of those people left the day Michael went missing and continued to hold raves and parties, he stated. He also said that while many people had left the campgrounds, several friends, as well as a few strangers, had stayed to assist in the search. He adds, "We stayed at the campgrounds for 19 days looking for our son, and we're truly grateful for those who stayed and helped." His son was just getting his life back together after a drug problem, Parrish said. Michael had worked at a local bar and grill before COVID-19, and he told his parents he was interested in becoming an electrician. However, he was often invited to DJ at parties and raves across the state due to his passion for music. A little over 6 weeks after Michael went missing, his parents admitted to wanting to believe that he was still alive, but they feared the worst as well. And he would never just leave. Even in his toughest times, he would always contact us. The idea that he would just disappear is unheard of, his father stated on the record. The Brysons also searched the general area where Michael disappeared as many as 3 to 4 times per week, gathering possible leads and posting illustrated missing flyers at trailheads, bulletin boards, and at the campsite. He did not just disappear into thin air, his father remarked to the press. On December 11, 2020, a breakthrough occurred. A call came through from a person who believed that they had spotted something near Bryce Creek Road, about a mile west of Hobo Camp and between Cedar Creek Campground and Lund Park Campground. The Lane County Sheriff's Office and search and rescue teams were notified, and on arrival, these teams found some of the items of clothing that Michael was reported to have been last seen wearing. These items of clothing were found oddly placed near a swimming hole, even though it was in an area that had previously been searched several times. The blue ribbon right there is where 2 of the items were found, and the blue and orange ribbon is where the other items were found, Parrish Bryson stated. He continued, "I'm 99.9% sure that these items were planted. My gut tells me that they were probably placed there because I know the intensity of some of the individuals that went down through there. It's really hard for me to believe that they were there the whole time." After the discovery, searchers continued to look for clues for a few days, but found none. As of this writing, in October of 2021, Michael Bryson remains missing, and there have been no further developments in the case. Samuel Savage Becker Bilkey, Crater Lake National Park. In the early afternoon of October 14, 2006, Sammy Bilkey, 8, was playing near the Cleetwood Cove area in Crater Lake National Park with his father, Kenneth Bilkey, 48. Sammy disappeared into the woods after running up a cinder slope. Crater Lake National Park was established in 1902 and is located in southern Oregon. In total, the park covers 183,224 acres and includes Crater Lake and the surrounding hills and forests. Many years ago, Mount Mazama collapsed, creating a nearly 2,148-foot deep caldera that partially fills Crater Lake. The amount of water in the lake is replaced every 250 years by rain and snow, which offset the evaporation. This is the deepest lake in the United States, measuring 1,949 feet. For maximum depth, it ranks 9th, while for mean average depth, it ranks 3rd. There are 2 small islands in Crater Lake. Located near the lake's western shore, Wizard Island is approximately 316 acres in size, while Phantom Ship, a natural rock pillar, is located near its southern shore. Because the lake has no inlets or tributaries, its waters are some of the purest in the world due to the lack of pollutants. There are relatively high levels of dissolved salts in the lake. Due to its high elevation and influence from the Pacific, Crater Lake has a subalpine climate. Summers are mild and dry, but winters are cold and snowy, with average snowfalls of 505 inches per year and maximum snow cover of 139 inches or 3.53 meters. It usually takes until mid-July for this snow to melt. Even in the summer, hard frosts are possible. The surface temperature of the lake ranges from 33 degrees Fahrenheit to 66 degrees Fahrenheit. In the summertime, the lake temperature fluctuates between 50 degrees Fahrenheit and 60 degrees Fahrenheit. As a result of the collapse of Mount Mazama, Crater Lake had no fish until William G. Steele decided to stock it in 1888 in order to allow for fishing. The fish were regularly stocked until 1941, when it became clear they could maintain a stable population without assistance from outside. 2 fish species have survived from the original stocking, kokanee salmon and rainbow trout, with the salmon being the most abundant. As part of its history, Crater Lake is also known for the Old Man of the Lake, a full-sized tree that has been bobbing in the water for over a century. As a result of the low temperatures of the lake, the decomposition of the wood has been slowed. Crater Lake is sacred to the Klamath tribe, Native Americans indigenous to the area. Generations ago, they told of it being the crossing point between Skell, a spirit from above, and Lao, a spirit from below. Andrea Langford, author of Haunted Hikes, Spine-Tingling Tales and Trails from North America's National Parks, writes this of Crater Lake. Lao and Skell fought gory battles here. Lao ripped Skell's heart from his chest, and Skell retaliated by dismembering Lao and throwing the body parts into the lake. Hideous monsters gobbled up everything but Lao's head, but the lake still holds Lao's spirit. When stirred, he may brew up storm clouds. When angered, he may appear in the form of a giant crayfish that climbs up out of the lake, snatches people off the rim of the crater that surrounds the lake, and drags them down into the water. So now that we know what Crater Lake is, how it was formed, and what it represents to the indigenous tribes, let us look into the disappearance of Sammy Bilkey. Despite his passion for life, Sammy was stubborn at times. Also, as a result of having a mild form of autism, he was terrified of loud noises and bright lights. Sammy stood 4 feet 11 inches tall, weighed 85 pounds, and had short brown hair and brown eyes. The last time he was seen, he was wearing a long-sleeve black and green t-shirt, jeans, a blue coat, and red suede slip-on shoes with rubber soles. While he had camping experience, he had no formal wilderness survival training given his young age. At 4 p.m., the Bilkey family had pulled over at a pullout about 500 yards east of the Cleetwood Cove parking lot area and were walking north along Rim Drive. Sammy and his father were playing hide-and-seek on a graveled slope when Sammy saw some yellow that he thought might be gold. Sammy stayed on the slope, refusing to come down, as darkness approached, and his father walked a short distance to the car to return to their Diamond Lake cabin. Kenny Bilkey chased after Sammy, but Sammy stayed 50 feet ahead, likely considering it a game. I never caught up with him, and at that point, he disappeared over the top somewhere, and I lost him. Within a matter of hours, more than 200 people were combing an area of about 6 square miles, or 4,000 acres. Dogs, helicopters, and heat-sensing cameras were used to search for the boy for a week, but he was never found. Authorities said a helicopter crew spotted some tracks, but they turned out to be animal tracks. After that, the search continued intermittently, despite heavy snowfalls in the area. 7,000 feet above sea level, the park gets more than 500 inches of snow each year. Although it was unlikely Sammy would have fallen into the lake because of obstacles on the slope, technical crews searched the slopes from the rim of the caldera down to the shoreline. Participating in the search were SAR teams from Jackson, Klamath, and Deschutes counties, National Park Service searchers and trackers from California, Washington, and Oregon. Mount Hood and Mount Rainier rescue teams were also involved, as well as volunteers consisting of employees from the BLM and U.S. Forest Service. It seems more than a little odd that a boy of Sammy's age, who was just slightly autistic, would just run off into the woods without any reason at all and continue going until he was out of sight and hearing range of his father. Because it was cold, his first instinct should have been to turn around and return to his father, especially if he was calling for him, no matter how long he hid from him. No trace was ever found, and Sammy remains missing. Robert Winters, Sparks Lake. Bob Winters, 78, was on a hunting trip with his family around Sparks Lake in Oregon when he disappeared in October of 1969. Broken Top Mountain is located to the south, while Mount Bachelor is located to the north of the lake. Over the past 20 years, Robert and his sons, Charles, George, and Alvin, had hunted in Oregon on annual trips. As a result of snowfall at higher altitudes, hunting in this area would have been more difficult. Robert was last seen at around 11 a.m. on October 8, 1969, when he left his family to go hunting, but did not return as darkness fell. As it grew darker, the snow began to fall heavily, and 1.5 feet fell in the 24 hours following his disappearance. Around 60 people participated in the search and rescue after the family contacted the Deschutes County Sheriff. Helicopters were dispatched, and tracks were seen near a creek called Soda Creek at an altitude of 7,100 meters, considerably higher than Sparks Lake at 5,400 meters. The extensive search, however, did not turn up any signs of Winters or his equipment. Near Soda Creek, near where the footsteps had been seen on the aerial search, Dr. Jack Crosby, a doctor on a hiking holiday in the area, discovered some items the following summer. As a result of Crosby's report to the sheriff, a search of the area was conducted. The only things found in the vicinity after a 3-day detailed investigation by the sheriff's department were Robert's deer rifle and his clothes, plus 1 boot, 1 glove, and 1 pair of glasses. Blood was not found on the clothes, nor were any remains found in the area. There was no evidence that the clothes had been shredded by an animal as part of an attack. Instead, it looked like they had been removed carefully. A detailed search of the scene failed to find a single bone, despite the efforts of Mel Newhouse and Norman Thrasher, who were doing the investigation at the scene. The case remains unsolved. Alyssa Marie McCrann, Multnomah Falls. On Saturday, December 19, 2015, Alyssa Marie McCrann, 37, from Portland, Oregon, disappeared while on a run near Multnomah Falls in the Columbia Gorge. Portland, Oregon is about 30 minutes away from the wilderness attraction. 5 years after her car was discovered and a large search was carried out, she remains missing. The plan was for Alyssa to run near Multnomah Falls. She left her Portland home in the Powellhurst-Gilbert neighborhood and drove to Franklin Ridge Loop Trail in her Mazda CX-7 in order to go running. In the Columbia River Gorge, east of Troutdale between Corbett and Dodson, Multnomah Falls is a waterfall located on Multnomah Creek. The Franklin Ridge Loop hike is a worthwhile option for hikers who wish to combine the well-known waterfalls along Multnomah and Oneonta Creek with some peaceful solitude. It is also a smooth transition to the more strenuous hikes in this area. In addition to living with her Korean parents, she also had a 13-year-old son. It was not known at the time if she suffered from any mental or physical health problems. When Alyssa failed to show up for work at Sunshine Dairy on Monday, December 21st, the authorities were notified that she was missing. On the 19th of December, her cell phone was used for the last time at around 10 a.m. to make a Facebook post. However, after that, all subsequent calls to her phone went directly to voicemail. It is estimated that the phone last pinged on Cascade Avenue in Tigard, approximately 45 minutes away from the falls. Alyssa's 2011 Mazda CX-7 was discovered parked in Multnomah Falls parking lot on December 22nd. Around 3 p.m. on that Saturday afternoon, a couple walking near Multnomah Falls reported seeing a woman they believed to be Alyssa. While she was wearing running clothes and shoes, she did not have any food or water with her, and she did not wear gear suitable for cold weather. In an apparent bid to remain warm, Alyssa had run off down the trail when the couple said they had advised her to head back to her car. 100 searchers scoured 150 miles of trails in the gorge, focusing on Franklin Ridge, but no trace of the missing person has been found. In addition, there was over a foot of fresh snow at the higher elevations, which severely hampered access to the gorge. Sniffer dogs were deployed, but failed to detect any scent. Pilots flew over the area, but did not see McCrann anywhere. Weather conditions caused the search to be suspended on Thursday, December 24, 2015. Before suspending search efforts, Portland Police Bureau's Missing Persons Unit and a wilderness doctor from OHSU Hospital consulted with the sheriff's office. One of Alyssa's friends, Eric Ledecky, described Alyssa as an upbeat, friendly person. "She'd do anything for you. She's the first one at your party. During birthdays, she gets you things. She'd help others out without asking for things in return. She's a good person. Everyone should have a friend like her." On Saturday, January 23, 2016, the search for Alyssa began again, which police then described as having moved from a search to a recovery mission. Some 60 volunteers participated, but no results were found. After the weekend search was over, the Facebook page dedicated to finding her posted an update. "Even though we did not find her, it felt wonderful to know the community has not forgotten Alyssa. Such an amazing outpouring of love and support. Again, all my love and respect goes out to the teams that helped orchestrate this latest search. They had a lot of manpower above the falls today, and hopefully the next search is the one that brings her home. We really miss her." No trace of Alyssa has been found 5 years after she disappeared. The timing of her running in December at such a late hour when dark would soon fall is weird, especially for an experienced runner in Oregon. Was hypothermia the cause of her running off trail and seeking shelter, which made it harder to find her body? Did she plan to intentionally disappear, despite her 13-year-old son? She was not known to be suffering from any financial problems or mental disorders, however, so these are likely not to blame. This strange disappearance remains a mystery. Roy Lauren Stevens, Willamette National Forest. Roy Stevens, 48, a father of 3, was last seen near Highway 58, near the town of Crescent, Oregon, in the evening hours. On November 25, 2005, his gray 1991 Ford Taurus wagon was discovered off Highway 58 at Waldo Lake Access Road in the Willamette National Forest. Forest Service Road 5897 connects Oregon Route 58 to Waldo Lake, which stands at an elevation of 5,414 feet above sea level. There are 18 miles between it and Oak Ridge, and the forest road leads to the lake for 12 miles. In November of 2005, Roy picked up his paycheck and left his job at Odell Lake Lodge. Later, he called his wife, Marilyn Leitner, to ask if she would like to go drink and eat at a local tavern in Crescent City with him. She declined his offer because she was feeling unwell, and he went out and met up with his friends instead. In the evening, he called her once again, around 11 p.m., to let her know he loved her and that he was headed home. Those were the last words she said to him, and the last time he was ever heard from. On November 18, 2005, after waiting 2 days for Roy to return home, his wife reported him missing. Usually, he was a little late getting home and would call to say he would be back within a few hours, but this was out of character for Roy. However, he had never left the house overnight, and definitely not for 24 hours at a time. When Roy didn't show up, Roy's wife and son searched the area near Odell Lake Lodge, hoping to find him. She reached out to neighbors and friends for support, since she had just undergone triple bypass surgery. Since November 16, 2005, he has not been seen. According to friends, Roy left the tavern and was going to visit another friend before heading home. Over a month after Roy had disappeared, on Thanksgiving Day, November 24, 2005, hikers walking up Waldo Lake Road saw a car and reported it to the police as abandoned. The next day, the car was identified as Roy's, and it was within 10 to 15 miles of his home. It was in an opposite direction than where he was going to his friend's house. The most bizarre and concerning part was that Roy left his wallet and paycheck in the car. In addition, there was a puddle of vomit lying next to the car. Law enforcement agencies from Lane County, Klamath County, and the Willamette National Forest were involved in the case. The reason behind this is that Roy lived in Klamath County, yet his car was found in Lane County and also in the Willamette National Forest. After Roy vanished, cadaver dogs were not sent into the area for months. Not only did this hinder the search, but only 4 hours of searching were even conducted. He was clearly a low priority for search and rescue for some reason. According to Krista Dolby, Roy's daughter, they didn't even do any forensic testing of his car. They looked in it for evidence, like his wallet and his paycheck were on the front seat, and apparently the hiker reported that there had been vomit right by the car, but that's it. Then they arranged for the car to be towed back to my mom's house. Since Roy disappeared from Waldo Lake 15 years ago, no trace of him has been found. Although it was strange that his wallet and paycheck were left in the car, foul play does seem likely. Why didn't the assailants steal his belongings if he was attacked or murdered? It would seem likely that Roy would take his wallet if he wanted to disappear. It is possible that he was drunk, got disoriented, stopped on the road, vomited, and then wandered off and got lost in the woods or was attacked by local wildlife. There were rumors that there was some sort of conflict between Roy and the two men he was going to see. Local talk was that Roy was hiding something from those two men when he was last seen, but his community chose to remain very close-knit and closed-mouthed regarding the ordeal. Law enforcement told the family that they wouldn't be able to go up the mountain because of safety concerns. The local community did not offer or volunteer to assist with the search for Roy. Why was Roy disliked by the community? Unless someone talks, we will never know. Derek Engebretson, Winema National Forest. Sometime in the afternoon on December 5, 1998, Derek Engebretson, his father Robert, and his grandfather Bob, 64, set out for a densely wooded mountainside above Upper Klamath Lake, about 30 miles north of Klamath Falls. They planned to find a Christmas tree for the holiday season. Derek was never seen again. Because of his love of the outdoors, Derek was known as Bear Boy at the age of 8. A week after he was born, his mother had carried him on a bear hunt in a pack. In his youth, he hunted with his father and picked mushrooms with his mother's father. On several of his mushroom expeditions, he had...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?